My castaway this week is a writer and an artist, but first of all, a guide. He is the constant companion of any serious walker in the Lake District. Indeed, a man would be a fool to set out without him. He's charted its every fell and tarn, and many too in the Yorkshire Dales, in Scotland and in North Wales. Books written in his own hand, accompanied by detailed maps and careful pen and ink drawings. The guides, which have sold more than 1 million now, are a walker's passport to pleasure. They're known, of course, fondly as Wainwrights. My castaway is Alfred Wainwright. Not a name, Mr. Wainwright, that you revealed for years, Alfred. Do you dislike it so much?
It's a nice name for a little boy, but it doesn't suit a man, I think. And I tried to keep it anonymous for a very long time.
But you failed in the end?
I failed in the end, yes.
You've got a reputation for being a bit of a recluse, not liking publicity. Why is that?
I suppose it's true to some extent, because with one or two exceptions, I do prefer my own company to that of other people. And during my walking years, I always walked alone.
But is it that you don't like other people? Do you think you're naturally antisocial?
Yes, I am antisocial, and getting worse as I get older. It started as shyness. It isn't shyness now. I can face anybody now and not feel inferior to them. But I'd much rather be alone.
Well, now, you're an ideal castaway in that sense, because most people come along onto the desert island and say, oh, I'm going to miss people. But you don't care about that at all?
No, not at all, no.
So you're looking forward to being castaway?
Well, it depends on the conditions. I mean, if there's a chip shop on the island, I can go on for years.
There isn't one of those, and it's hot. Do you like the heat?
Not particularly, no.
And music? Do you prefer silence, or do you like music?
I prefer silence. I think I should make it quite clear that music has never played an important part in my life. It's never been an inspiration to me. Rather an irritation very often. The transformation in my life came with the talkies. And you'll find that all my tunes belong to past ages.
All right, let's have the first one then. What is it to be?
Well, I was in the 20s before I heard any music at all. And I immediately became fond of the Viennese waltzes of the Strauss family. And my first choice from a dozen Strauss waltzes that I greatly enjoy will be Tales from the Vienna Woods, sung by Richard Tauber.
The wind brings all the Vienna Woods, so many stories they unfold, of eyes so blue and eyes so brown, of sweetest maids without a frown. The stories Vienna Woods unfold, the sweetest tales that could be told. Love stories they are telling, how I sang of love and dream to the murmur of a stream, and my lay was so gay. How I sang of love and dream to the murmur of a stream, and my cares were driven away.
Richard Tauber singing the Strauss waltz, Tales from the Vienna Woods. Mr. Wainwright, the problem, of course, with writing wonderful guidebooks is that you attract people to the landscapes that you love and hence destroy some of the peace that you love. Does that worry you?
Well, I've often been charged with that, but I don't think so, and I certainly don't reproach myself about it. There's been such a change in leisure habits that when I started on the fells, there were very few walkers there. Nowadays they walk in procession, and they would have come anyway because they've more money to spend, they've more leisure time.
But when you've ever met them, you've walked straight on.
I've tried to avoid them, you know.
How do you do that? I mean, if you meet a lone walker on top of a fell and you're walking, you've got to say something.
No, you haven't, really. You can strike off in another direction. There are boulders you can get behind. No. My pet hate, of course, is school parties, where you get a caterpillar of about 40 kids coming along, and you say good morning to the first one, and the rest of them have to share that, because I'm not going to say it 40 times.
Can you remember when you were first bitten by the walking bug?
Well, that goes back a very long time, because it was the only pastime we had when we were children in the 1920s, or earlier than that even. Nobody ever had a penny to spend, so we amused ourselves in ways that doesn't seem to appeal at all to children these days. We play hide and seek, we could play marbles along the gutter, kick a rag ball about, collect cigarette cards. It was a wonderful life, really.
This was in Blackburn, in
This was in Blackburn, yes, where I was brought up in a 2 up and 2 down cottage that was exactly like 10,000 other cottages in Blackburn.
What did your father do?
He was a stonemason. I would call him an itinerant stonemason because he travelled about the north of England looking for work. So every member of the family was born in a different town in the north of England. But he was very largely out of work, couldn't find work.
So you were very poor?
Very poor, yeah. But so was everybody else. You never felt that you were poor because everybody was in the same boat. People accepted the position. That's the way they were born, to go in the mill and work for their living.
The cotton mill?
Yeah, cotton mills all around the house.
Let's hear your second record, shall we?
Well, yes, as I say, I didn't hear any music until the 1930s, really, after talkies came in. And I was immediately fond of the American songwriters, Irving Berlin, Jerome Kern, Cole Porter. So the talkies made a tremendous difference to me. And I would like to select one that became immensely popular, and it was called Smoke Gets in Your Eyes.
They said someday you'll find all who love are blind. When your heart's on fire, you must realize smoke gets in your eyes. So I chaffed them and I gaily laughed to think they could doubt my love.
Well, now, as I understand it, the young Alfred Wainwright was a bit of a clever clogs and destined not to go to the cotton mill. Is that right?
I think I must admit that is right. I did very well at the board school, and the teachers all said you ought to go to the central school in the middle of the town, which I did with considerable apprehension because I had no decent clothes to wear, no shoes. But there I did extremely well and came first in every subject in the first year. There were about 20 subjects. There wasn't much money coming in at home. I wanted to help out. And at the age of 13, there was an advert in the local paper for an office boy in the town hall. And I applied for that and got it. Whereas everybody else that I knew was going into the cotton mill. I wouldn't have liked that.
How much did you get a week, do you remember?
Yes, a magnificent sum. I started at 15 shillings a week, and I was only 13 years old. And I remember running all the way home to tell my mother, who had a hard time, really. I mean, I used to wake up in the middle of the night and I could hear the mangle going in the kitchen downstairs, because to make things meet, she had to take in washing from rather more affluent neighbours. So that was sad.
Well, now let's move on to 1930. when you were aged 23 and you took your first holiday away from home.
By that age, I'd saved up £5, and I'd heard a lot about the Lake District, which until then had been a world away, although there were only 60 miles between us. I did, as everybody told me, went up to Orust Head, which overlooks Windermere, and I just couldn't believe that such beauty could exist. It made a whole world of difference to me. That did change my life. I decided then that this is a place I wanted to live. 1941, I applied for a job in Kendal, the town hall in Kendal, and got it.
And that was the beginning
of
the next part of your life.
Yeah.
Let's pause there for your third record.
Now, this is a tearjerker.
My handkerchief is ready.
You need a hanky for this. Another game we played as boys was Cowboys and Indians, and I got very fond of the Wild West, and I became very fond of westerns in the cinema, and I still am. I'd still rather see a western film than any other. But accompanying the films were hillbilly western songs. But there was one in particular that always brought a tear to my eye. And it's the story of the dedication of a cowboy for the animals in his care. The setting is a wild winter's day, snowstorms, and the cattle have been brought down from the range to the shelter of the corral. And one little calf is missing, and the cowboy volunteers to go and look for it. And what happened, you will now hear in this story called There's an Empty Cot in the Bunkhouse Tonight.
He arrived at 3 in the morning and put that maverick to bed. Then he flopped on his bunk, not able to move. This morning poor Limpy was dead. There's a cot unused in the bunkhouse tonight. There's a pinto's head hanging low. The spurs and shaps, they hang on the wall.
There's an empty cot in the bunkhouse tonight. The singer was Rex Allen. It's terribly sad, that.
It is.
It's going to depress you.
Yes.
You were 34 years old, and at last you'd managed to get to live in the place where your heart was,
Yes.
in the Lake District.
Yes.
But you still hadn't written anything more than a government report at this stage, had you?
No, I hadn't. No, not really.
So when did you decide on this project to write all about the Lake District in such detail?
Well, I was trained as an accountant, and when I came to the Lake District, I had a golden opportunity of getting out walking on the fells. And although there weren't many people walking in those days, I was always coming across people who were lost. There were no guidebooks to the fells, and it was important that there should be. So more for my amusement than anything else, I started to write the guidebooks. I thought, when I'm an old man and I can't walk the hills, these will be memories for me. I finished the first volume after 2 years working every night on them. So I really got obsessed by what I was doing. I was able to illustrate them with drawings. I was able to give features, the natural features of the mountain, the routes of ascent, the ridge routes to the next one, the view, the summit, dealt with them all like that, one after another. I finished the first book of some 200 pages, and I thought these might be useful to other people too. And I let half a dozen people see them, and they all, without exception, said, "You ought to get this published." At the time, although I'd only £35 saved up, I went to a local printer and asked what it would cost to have 2,000 copies made. And he worked it out. He said £900. I said, "I only got 35. Well, he said, never mind, this book will sell. Pay me off as you sell them. And he went ahead and printed them. Now, that was a wonderful thing. Now, that firm continued to publish, but were taken over by Westmoreland Gazette. And Westmoreland Gazette have continued ever since to publish most of my books. And they've been a great friend to me. And I wanted every page to be exactly as I had written it by hand. So they were all photographed. And that's how the book came into being.
You used the word obsessed just now.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a kind of obsession, wasn't it? It must have dominated your life.
It did. And nothing mattered to me except getting these books done. I had a single-track mind. And it ended finally with my wife walking out and taking the dog, and I never saw her again.
And did you blame her?
Not at all. But now she's stuck it for 30-odd years. Right, what's your next question?
I'm going to ask you for another record now.
Another type of song that I always enjoyed were the Italian tenors singing Neapolitan songs. One of my favourites, and I think everybody's favourite, was Come Back to Sorrento.
Fideo mare quanto è bello, spira tanto sentimento, come tu a chi tiene a mente, cascetato fai e sonna. Guarda qua che stu giardino, senti sti sciurrarance, lo profumo a così fino, tinto core se ne va. E tu dici o parta Dio, allontana la stu
Come Back to Sorrento, Luciano Pavarotti with the National Philharmonic Orchestra, conducted by Giancarlo Giamello. What makes a good walker then, Mr. Wainwright? How would you define a good man on the fells?
I don't think there's any art about walking. And I can't understand why you get tremendous volumes about how to walk. It's a natural thing. But on the fells, which are quite rough, you must take care to watch where you're putting your feet. There's a temptation always to look round at the view as you're walking along. You mustn't do that. That's the way accidents happen.
You've often slept on the top, haven't you, under canvas on the top?
Yes.
That must be a marvellous experience.
It is a marvellous experience, yes. Yeah.
What's it like when you wake up?
It's eerie. There's absolute silence, and all around the mountains are just black silhouettes. And then gradually you get the grey dawn. And invariably in the Lake District, at dawn the valleys are filled with a white vapour, which gradually dissolves, and you watch it gradually dissolves and reveal the fields and pastures below. Wonderful experience. Always alone. You know that you're only the person on the fells that morning. It's like being a king, wandering where you like. This is my throne. And knowing that for 4 or 5 hours at any rate, you've got the fells to yourself to wander just where you like, and nobody else will appear in the scene.
Let's have another record.
Well, it'll be clear up to now that I only like music that has a good tune with it, a tune that haunts you, that you can whistle. And after the war, there were several musicals like Oklahoma, The King and I, Sound of Music, South Pacific, that were a real delight to me, and I could listen to them over and over again and sing them to myself for weeks afterwards. But the one I've chosen is the first song in Oklahoma, Oh, What a Beautiful Morning.
Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I got a beautiful feeling. Everything's going my way. All the sounds of the earth are like music. All the sounds of the earth.
Gordon McRae singing Oh, What a Beautiful Morning from the soundtrack of the film Oklahoma.
It's a wonderful, inspiring song. And you notice he talks about the sounds of the earth are like music. Now, that's the sort of music that I really prefer. The tinkle of a mountain stream, the twittering of birds, the rustle of leaves in a forest in autumn, the sound of the wind sighing across the mountain tops. That's music to me. And there's never any discord. It's harmony.
You're 81 years old now. Do you still walk a lot?
No. Unfortunately, my eyes have gone in the last 2 or 3 years. And, I always counsel people to watch where they're putting their feet on these rough mountain tracks. Now, the last time that I did a fell walk, it was a pouring wet day, terrible wet day. And I was stumbling and slipping all over the place. And it wasn't because my glasses was misted. It was because I couldn't see where I was putting my feet. And that's the last time I did a fell walk. And the mountains wept tears for me that day. It never stopped raining. Latterly, I've been more engaged in writing than walking.
Well, you'll be able to sit on the desert island, Mr. Wainwright, and go for all these walks in your head because you know them all so well.
Yes.
Have you ever been abroad, by the way?
No, I've never been on a ship or an aeroplane. I hate going south from Kendal. I have no ambition to travel abroad. I couldn't face the customs and the new currency and the foreign language and the foreign food and the passport.
Well, you're going to face none of that in being cast away because we plonk you directly onto the desert island, you see, and you will sit there in the tropical sunshine. Is that all right?
Would there be anybody to look after me?
Nobody.
Because I can't look after myself. I've always been well looked after. Would there be chip shops on the island?
No.
No, well, I'd be dead in a month. Malnutrition.
I'm going to ask you for another record. We've got to the 6th one. What's that to be?
Well, I've always regretted there was never a good walking song for the Lake District. But I did hear some time ago a record sung by a children's choir that I became very fond of, and it's called The Happy Wanderer.
I love to go wandering along the mountain track, and as I go, I love to sing my knapsack on my back. Wandering, wandering,
The Happy Wanderer, a good walking song, that. Well, now, Mr. Wainwright, I understand that you give all the royalties from your books, of which there must be quite a bit, to animal charities. Is that right?
Not strictly right, no, and I really should correct a misapprehension that's got into the national press about this. I don't give my royalties to charities. What happens is that in my contract with the publishers, I insert a clause which says, I hereby renounce all rights to any royalties earned by this book and leave their distribution to the discretion of the publishers. So the position is that I don't receive any royalties, but the publishers, who I trust implicitly, make an equivalent donation to the registered charity, which they know I support.
And which charity is that?
Well, there are two now. There's Animal Rescue Cumbria, and another that I founded 2 or 3 years ago, the Wainwright Animal Trust, which helps other animal welfare organisations in need of financial help.
What sort of animals do you rescue?
Cats and dogs, mainly.
Rescue them from what?
From distress. We have actually more cats and kittens than dogs. And there's some awful stories, really. Kittens being tied up in plastic bags and left on rubbish tips. And dogs being thrown out of cars on the motorway because they're no longer wanted. Now, we try to find homes for those after nursing them back to health.
And your wife, your second wife, Betty,
yes,
has to do with all of this, doesn't she?
She supervises the place, spends a lot of time there.
And she supervises you as well?
Oh, yes.
What does she do for you?
Everything. She does everything for me. And especially now that I'm approaching senility, I absolutely depend on her.
Shall we have another record?
I often go to Scotland. In fact, I've been visiting Scotland for 40 years. Always going up the west coast. And as you go up the west coast, you get a view of sky across the water. In certain conditions, it's magic. Sometimes it's misty, a bit mysterious. Sometimes it's silhouetted against the setting sun. And, of course, the most romantic period of Scotland's history was the coming of Bonnie Prince Charlie, who landed on the west coast, gathered an army about him of Highlanders, went to Culloden, where they suffered a terrible defeat, and he had to fly back across Scotland. But finally got to the west coast again and went across to Skye, where he found refuge with Flora MacDonald. That's a wonderful story in Scottish history, and it's remembered in a song, the Skye Boat Song, which would now be my next choice.
Speed, bonny boat, like a bird on the wing, onward the sailors cry. Carry the lad that's born to be king over the sea to sky. Loud the winds howl, loud the waves roar, thunderclaps rend the air. Baffled our foes stand by the shore, follow they will not dare. Speed, bonny boat, like a bird on the wing, onward the sailors cry. Carry the lad that's born to be king over the sea to sky. Oh, the waves lead.
Kenneth McKellar with the Skye Boat Song. I should say that before we met, I received my orders from you, and that was not just your list of records, but also a list of things that you wanted to talk about. And one of them we haven't touched on yet is religion. So tell me about you and it.
Well, I can soon dispose of that, because I have no time at all for organised religion.
What about you, though? Do you have your own personal faith?
I'm afraid not. No, I can't believe that we go to heaven or hell.
But can't you believe when you stand on top of those hills and see all that beauty that you've described?
Yeah.
Can't you believe there's something greater, some higher power?
Yes, but it's a mystery that nobody's ever solved, the beginning of the world. And it really is a wonderful world, a beautiful world. I'm sure somebody's created it, but I don't know who.
Your 8th record, if you would, please.
I have 2 better versions. One is musical background, which is very often out of place and seems totally wrong. It's unrealistic. The other is, of course, the cackling studio audiences. I hate them. I switch off. The one exception to background music occurred in what I consider to be the best film I've ever seen, because it was absolutely appropriate to the landscape and the scenery. And that was Dr. Zhivago. That was a wonderful film. And the music of Maurice Jarre simply fitted in absolutely. And there was one tune in it which I think became known as Lara's theme. And I would very much like to hear that again.
Somewhere a hill blossoms in green and gold, and there are dreams, all that your heart can hold.
Lara's theme from the film Dr. Zhivago, sung by Johnny Mathis. Now then, Mr. Wainwright, the moment of decision. First of all, you have to decide which of those records you would like to have more than any of the others.
Well, I think I would take Lara's theme because I'm really a sentimental romantic, and I'd like to dissolve away in a flood of tears, and Lara's theme would do it.
What about your book now? Because, as you know, you've got the Bible and you've got the complete works of Shakespeare.
Well, I wouldn't want either of those because I couldn't read them, and I wouldn't want a book at all. You've told me there are no chip shops on the island, so that I haven't a great deal of time to spend there before I faded away. I always had an ambition to grow a beard, and I've never been able to face people and their comments if I'd tried to do it now. But on a desert island, it would be ideal, wouldn't it? Mm. So I'd like a mirror, small mirror, just to see how it was getting on every day. And the other things that I would take would be 2 photographs. One photograph of the Blackburn Rovers football team that won the FA Cup in 1928. That was really a highlight of my life. And the second would be of my wife, Betty, who's been a treasure to me and continues to be.
Well, you can have the photographs instead of all the books.
Yes, please.
And you can have a mirror for your luxury.
Good.
So you can have a good look at the beard.
Good.
And I'd like to say thank you very much indeed, Alfred Wainwright, for letting us hear your Desert Island Discs.
You've been listening to a podcast from the Desert Island Discs archive. For more podcasts, please visit bbc.co.uk/Radio4.